Welcome to the Grand Theft World podcast hosted by GrandTheftWorld.com. It is November 21st, 2021. This is episode 55. This is Take the Rhodes Pill. We're going to learn a little bit about globalism tonight. We just premiered a remarkable interview with Dr. Peter McCullough. We call it Dr. Peter McCullough Uncensored. It's still on the YouTube, but it's about to be distributed to all our other outposts. I encourage you to check that out when you got time. It's an hour long. It's made to share with your friends and family. It gives early treatment options. It also gives his opinions on whether or not young people need to take that pokey poke. So we're going to get into that. We also have coverage of the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict. We're going to do a deep dive into the history of globalism with James Corbett.
There was a lot of setup here, especially by individuals like Bill Gates, that wasn't just funneling money into the mainstream media, because he gave hundreds of billions of dollars to the mainstream media. That buys a lot of influence. There's smart people who know what's going on.
It's so annoying to do the cliche Bill Gates.
No. It's important to mention here because this is a man that has far more influence than we even know about, and we already know. Hundreds of millions of dollars to the mainstream media. A new report just came out.
Give me some evidence other than the guy says stupid things to the press.
He doesn't say stupid things to the press. He buys off the press. NPR, he gave them $319 million to media outlets like CNN, NBC, NPR, The Atlantic, the BBC, The Guardian. All are on his payroll. All are on his paycheck.
What does it mean?
And we talk about the way that he positions himself in society, especially
what does it mean? What does it mean?
The things like the vaccine industry.
Explain to me beyond, I saw a guy do a bunch of things that make me question him. Look, I don't like the guy. I think he's got weird views on the world. I don't trust him. I think he's a bad person. I look at his history and how he started Microsoft and how he moved through Silicon Valley, much like Steve Jobs, also not a good guy. But the problem I have with this, like, here's a guy who did a thing. It's like, yo, what's happening in the world right now involves thousands of people.
Here's the thing. I don't even think of this necessarily as a debate, at least not in the sense of arguing about reality. This is arguing about strategies. Fundamentally, that's what I see taking place here, is an argument about strategies for getting people activated on certain issues. And in that strategy debate, yeah, of course, there are going to be differing opinions, and you should do this, you should do that. It's just who I am. I don't sit here generally trying to strategize, or at least telling people what they should or shouldn't be doing in terms of strategies, because it is my genuinely held belief that everyone has their own approach to understanding information, internalizing information, processing information, and giving that information out to others. And it's kind of this utopian idea of humanity that there's one way to do it and only one way to talk to other people. And that's the way that will magically make everything better and everyone will unlock their minds and it'll be perfect. Of course not. No. Some people will listen to someone like Luke Rukowski talking about and documenting, $319 million in over 30,000 grants in the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation database, $319 million documentably going to buy media publicity for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and its projects and its overall goals, shaping the entire coverage of the entire global health space. Seems like a pretty important point if you're looking at, okay, well, where did all of this information and messaging on global health come from? You might want to know about something like that so you can at least be switched on to how this works and operates. That's the way my mind works. But I know there are people out there who will, as Tim Pool says, this is not going to resonate with them. They're going to say, so what? Bill Gates is buying publicity. Everyone buys publicity if they can. Whatever. Who cares? How does this affect me? Okay, there are people like that who won't care about Bill Gates or his machinations. So the point, I think, is this is a strategic thing, and the Tim Pools of the world might be put off by people talking about that level of detail, and the Luke Rukowskis of the world might be interested and activated precisely because of those self-same details. So who am I to come here and say, you should talk about this, or you shouldn't talk about this, or you should talk about it in this way? I keep going back to this point. You have to honestly reflect who you are and what you believe about the world, the way you see it. You have to express that and know that it will turn off some people and it will turn on other people. And you have no control over that, and you never will. But if you're just authentically expressing your viewpoint, you will naturally reach out to the people who resonate with that viewpoint.
We have a 1970 document showing the origins of the World Economic Forum. We're going to do a deep dive into that. This is the Club of Rome, Predicament of Mankind, Quest for Structured Responses to Growing Worldwide Complexities and Uncertainties from 1970. This is a proposal from the Club of Rome. The Problematique, an overview of the situation. Then they make a proposal, and then they have an idea for a world forum, which I showed you last time. The Club of Rome was instrumental in the Davos Manifesto to kick off the World Economic Forum. So this is the planning document, which brought forward the WEC, which now is the COVID-19 Great Reset crew that's running the whole show. So understanding Club of Rome and Aurelio Pache and these sort of guys in history might be history that is substantial. And we have a long list of news, further things stacking up. The case against Fauci is stacking up. We'll learn from Jimmy Dore and others about that.
Unfortunately, Dr. Fauci got major epidemiology and public health questions wrong. Reality and scientific studies have now caught up with him. Natural immunity. Here you go. By pushing vaccine mandates, Dr. Fauci ignores naturally acquired immunity among the COVID recovered, of which there are more than 45 million in the United States. In fact, we just looked it up. It's up to 47 million people who've had COVID. And mounting evidence indicates that natural immunity is stronger and longer lasting than vaccine-induced immunity. In a study from Israel, the vaccinated were 27 times more likely to get symptomatic COVID than the unvaccinated who had recovered from a prior infection. That's quite a stat, don't you think? That should enter into whether they should be mandated to get a vaccine or not? I think so. Dr. Fauci doesn't have a strong answer for us on that. Under Fauci's mandates, hospitals are firing heroic nurses who recovered from COVID they contracted while caring for COVID patients. So these people are the heroes who would go into those hospitals in the ICUs and work on people with COVID, contracted the COVID, risked death themselves, got better, and now they're going to fire them. So those people aren't cowards, because they're willing to go work with people who had COVID when there was no vaccine. Those are the exact kind of people they should be hiring. People with natural immunity and that kind of courage. But instead, we're throwing them into the dustbin of our culture. With their superior immunity, they can safely care for the oldest and frailest patients with even lower transmission risk than the vaccinated. After more than 700,000 reported COVID deaths in America, we now know that lockdowns failed to protect high-risk older people. When confronted with the idea of focused protection of the vulnerable, Dr. Fauci admitted he had no idea how to accomplish it, arguing that it would be impossible. That may be understandable for a lab scientist, but public health scientists have presented many concrete suggestions that would have helped, and had Fauci and other officials not ignored them.
And for our first clip tonight, let's go to Luke Rudowski of wearechange.org, bestpoliticaltshirts.com, and we're going to check out not his Sunday summary. This is his clip from Friday. It's going to give you, just a little update on the globalist precipitation of chaos and plunder around the world and people pushing back, most importantly, against it. Let's go to Luke and do the kickoff.
And then one more area that I hope nation states start paying greater attention to is the rise of cryptocurrency, because what looks like a very interesting and somewhat exotic effort to literally mine new coins in order to trade with them has the potential for undermining currencies, for undermining the role of the dollar as the reserve currency, for destabilizing nations, perhaps starting with small ones, but going much larger. So when we think about this new environment in which we find ourselves that we've been discussing for the last some minutes, We can't just think about nation states.
You know, if there is someone who really knows about destabilizing nations, it's definitely Hillary Clinton, and there couldn't have been a better endorsement of Bitcoin ever.
If you haven't heard about our Grand Theft World community membership, here are a few of the things you've been missing. A mobile app where you can access replays of the Grand Theft World podcast and show notes. Access to the Grand Theft World community on Discord, where we crowdsource news and resources, and you can contribute to the show. The opportunity to participate in the Grand Theft World bi-weekly town hall. Exclusive content from Richard Grove, including behind-the-scenes footage and future access to unpublished material. 93 episodes of the Peace Revolution podcast, and the Grand Theft World newsletter delivered straight to your inbox each week. If you want to stay ahead of the great game, visit us at grandtheftworld.com, click or tap the button in the top right-hand corner, and join a vibrant community of researchers blazing a new path to truth. We'll see you there.